everybody. We're going to read chapter 5 in our book, Civil War on Sunday. The last thing that happened was Jack and Annie were, they've been transported by the magic tree house to the Civil War. They've gone back in time. And they've been helping the nurses, but now they're like, okay, we're ready to go home. Because they've completed their mission. Their mission was to find a special writing that was something that they could follow. And when the nurse handed them that list and said, follow this list, like, aha, this is what we came here for. We've got it. We can go. They decided to stay a little longer to help some of the soldiers. But then at the end of the last chapter, they're like, okay, we've got what we needed. Let's go. And then right at the very end, they find out that this lady named Clara Barton is here. But they're not, well, Jack's not sure who it is. Annie recognizes who it is because Annie's read about her in history books, just like we read about her yesterday in our history book. Chapter 5 is called Angel of the Battlefield. And remember, yesterday we read about Clara Barton, and her nickname was Angel of the Battlefield. Jack still didn't remember who Clara Barton was. He pulled out the Civil War book and read. Clara Barton was a famous Civil War nurse. When she began nursing, she used her own money for supplies. She drove a horse-drawn ambulance right into the battlefield to help save wounded soldiers. For this reason, she became known as the Angel of the Battlefield. So what he's reading in his history book was very similar to what we read in ours. Jack put the book away, then he hurried to Annie. He looked at the woman sitting in the driver's seat of the wagon. She doesn't look like an angel, Jack thought. The woman was very small. She had a plain, serious face and dark hair pulled back in a bun. She wore a long black skirt and a black jacket. In the back of her wagon were more wounded soldiers in torn, bloody uniforms. They moaned and cried. Nurses, both men and women, were putting the wounded men on stretchers. Clara Barton wiped her forehead. She looked hot and tired. "Can we help you, Miss Barton?" Annie asked. "Who are you?" said Clara Barton. "Jack and Annie," said Annie. "We're volunteer nurses." "What can we do, Miss Barton?" Clara Barton smiled. "First, you can call me Clara," she said. "Second, would you ride with me toward the battlefield? There are more wounded waiting to be picked up." "Sure," said Annie. So here's Clara in her wagon. And so much for leaving, huh? They were just about to leave, and here came Clara Barton, which would be interesting if you could go back in history and meet like a real-life hero. You probably wouldn't want to leave either. You're like, well, we're here, and now we're getting to meet Clara Barton and hang out with her. We might as well stay. Jack didn't answer. After seeing all the suffering men in the wagon, he was afraid of getting closer to the battlefield. So see, once again, Annie is all in. Annie's like, let's go. Let's do it. What can we do to help? And Jack's like, oh, here we go again. Which is, it's understandable that he's scared. I mean, I would be scared to ride into a battlefield, and I'm 42. Jack, how old is he? 8? 7 or 8? I guess he's 8. So he's 8 years old. I'm 42. I would be scared. And you? Clara asked Jack, her dark, serious eyes looking right into his. Jack didn't want to admit he was afraid. "Sure, no problem," he said. "Very good," said Clara Barton. "Let's go." Jack and Annie climbed up into the driver's seat next to her. By now, all the soldiers had been taken out of the wagon. "Take care of my new family members," Clara called to the nurses. She snapped the reins. The horse-drawn ambulance rolled off, sending up clouds of dust. So that is the end of that chapter. They're going off on another part of their adventure out into the battlefields. So our next chapter that we'll start next week is called Keep Low. And it says, it's got the exclamation mark. Remember we learned last time when we were reading A Bear Named Trouble, some of the chapter titles had exclamation marks. So that means keep low. Like, keep low, keep low. So that will be chapter 6, and we will start that on Monday. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you then.